Hello, everyone. Dr. Dorothy Roach is here. I just want to come on board just to get you informed on what's going on with my son. I'm here to just tell you that God has worked a miracle. Let me tell you just a little bit of the story and get you a little caught up on what's going on. Stephen first went in the hospital on September the 8th, went into the emergency room, and they gave him some pills and sent him home. And he tried to go back to work. He went back to work. And then on September the 22nd, he went back into the hospital, Ubered himself to the hospital, and they admitted him. And they kept him. And then I just happened to be in Arizona on September the 24th. I got the phone call as I pulled into the church going in to bring the message for our 100-year celebration of Saints Home in Holbrook, Arizona, where my grandmother was the founder of that church. So they thought it appropriate that we wanted to honor one of the members who had been a part of that church for 75 years. So we honored her because she just left that church and went to live with her daughter. So I was had the opportunity, but when I pulled in the parking lot, getting ready to prepare to go to speak to the people and bring the word of God, I pulled in there and on the phone with my son in Washington telling me that my baby son, Stephen Austin, was in the hospital. So I went on and I spoke. I was already in Arizona. God is so amazing how he set things up for me to be there at the right time. That we scheduled that speaking engagement like 6 months in advance. But God knew that I needed to be there. It's amazing. God is so amazing. But I spoke, I ministered, and then I went home to my cousin's house to go to sleep because I was exhausted. So I went to sleep, got up early that next morning to travel there. That was on the 25th of September to travel to Phoenix, Arizona, to go to the hospital to see my son. Got on the highway. We took a different route. We took the long route instead of the shorter cut. So, and we, on the way there, guess what? We was driving my niece's car. Car broke down on us. It was it. We were probably about 10 miles from the next exit where there's a service station, and the car would go no faster than 30 miles an hour. So we coasted 30 miles an hour going to that place, to that exit. The first exit we took, it had some construction, some road transportation people working on the road. My sister was driving and she wanted to drive past them. I said, no, stop, ask. They got to be all right. They got their vests on, they're working on the road. So she pulled, I said, you stop, I'll ask. And I asked him where the next stop is. And he said the next exit. But what we did not know, the next exit was 10 miles down the road. So we went on down the road and we made that exit. And there was a Love Station truck stop on the left hand side. So we crossed over and went to the Love work truck stop. We stopped in there and we were trying to decide on what was going to happen. We was calling our cousins and see if they could come, but they said that's too far of a distance for us to come, and the traffic really bad. So we called AAA. And when I called AAA, my sister Pat called AAA, and my cousin Bobby, who work on automobiles, and sent him a picture of the thing that came up on the car, and he said that looks like there is a catalyst converter. So he took his time and he said, give me a moment. He searched it. He says, yeah, that's the catalyst converter. And there's a recall on that vehicle for a catalyst converter. So after that, I called the dealership to get to the dealership so we can take the car into. And the dealership says that if it's the catalyst converter, that they will fix it for free. But if it's something else, it could cost us anywhere from $2,000 to $3,000 for the repair. I began to pray because I would have to buy a plane ticket to get back home, and my sisters too, and we'd have to leave that car in Arizona because I didn't have the money, nor did my niece have the money to fix the car. But God worked a miracle out. We waited at that love station at a Wendy's. We waited there for about 6 hours, waiting for AAA to come. And right before it got dark, right at dusk, the AAA driver showed up. And we had several drivers that were supposed to come, but they never showed up and they never responded. And they kept telling us he's 30 minutes out, he's hour out. And that driver got called away to something else. And so we're about 2 hours out. And it ended up being a little over 6 hours that we waited. But God had a plan all in that. And I didn't realize it. When you're in a situation, you don't realize that God's plan and God's miracle that is getting ready to perform in your life. So the guy that came, his name was Joe. And so we could not, and the dealership said if we can get there, he can get us a rent-a-car for a couple of days until we get our vehicle fixed. If they check it, but we didn't get there before 6 p.m. It was dark and the dealership had closed. And the guy, his name was Joe. The guy at the dealership name was Joe. The AAA man's name was Joe. And so we just got contact with Joe's, and those were the people that God had lined up for the miracle to happen. So what I was going to do, and we decided, me and my two sisters decided what we're going to do. I said, we're going to have to, because the only place we can get a rent-a-car was at the airport. And we're going to have to Uber from the dealership after we leave the car and Uber to the airport to go get a rental. So while we were driving and I'm on my phone, setting up a rental for us to go pick up. Thank God for phones, and thank God for being in a place that my phone was able to get service. But by the time we got to the dealership, we had struck a conversation with this young man and told him about our crises and our long journey. And we waited so long in Wendy's that we bought some food, but the managers understood our flight. And guess what? They started sending us food. So we didn't have to buy but one meal. And the manager supplied the meals for us so he kept sending us French fries, hamburgers, drinks. And we tried to pay him and said, no, that's on us. So I thank God, even in the midst of seemingly like it was no way out, God yet worked a miracle and provide for us. And then when you're in the midst of all that trial and trauma that you're going through, and I'm the mother trying to get to the hospital to see about my son. So I'm traumatized because me and my sisters, and we're all, two of us are in our 70s, and the baby sisters is in her late 60s, almost to enter into her 70s. So we were traumatized, and and my sisters, two of them had one of them had two knee replacements. One just had a neck surgery. So, and here I am. I'm the fittest of them all, but I got my problems as well. So this young man, the AAA man, said, "No, I will not let you all Uber. I will take you to the airport." So he had some fluid containers inside of his truck. It was a brand new truck. He said he just got it. This is the first time that he's driven out and he's used it. God set up for us to have a brand new truck. God set up for us to have Joe. And we left the car at the dealership. And guess what? He got our luggage out the car, put our luggage inside his vehicle, and he put us all in there, and he drove us to the airport. Drove us to the airport to where the rental cars was. He knew where to park his vehicle. So I left Pat and Dolores in the car, and I mean in the truck, while Joe and I walked up. Now he's a stranger. We're strangers to him. But God ordained that moment for a stranger to come to our rescue. Went up there and got the car. He walked, because if I had to do it long, we did Uber. I'd have been lost. We'd have been thrown off trying to transfer our luggage from the Uber. So all the things that we could have possibly went through if God hadn't provided this miracle in advance for us. Because I was a mother going to the hospital trying to see about my son. So we get the rental car. We get in. We were going to our cousin's house. So we get the rental car, and the young man Joe, he unloaded our luggage. We didn't have to lift anything. He put the luggage in the car. He helped me choose the car that we were going to pick. Him and I walking through the parking lot. Oh, which one are we going to get? Which one are we going to get? Didn't have that many to choose from, but they said, because I'm a premium level person, that I could choose any vehicle. So I chose a little small SUV, as it was a Kia Soul, and the trunk was perfect for all of our luggage, and it fit right in that trunk, and we were able to ride comfortably. And then he after he pointed me back to the direction to get to the truck, and my sister said they were a little worried because they thought that they were going to be abandoned. They didn't know. And God was setting trust mode into me. And I felt comfortable being with this man because we had gathered a relationship from the 63 miles that he drove us, maybe 75 miles, because we were 63 miles out of Phoenix. So about 75 miles that he had driven us in his vehicle to the dealership. And his kindness of lifting up the luggage and filling out the paperwork, and he knew where to put the keys into the dealership. So God is just good. And he led us out back to the freeway so we can get on Interstate 10 and go to my cousin's house. We got there about 11:30 that night. And of course, my sisters were exhausted. So they came in, they went to bed. I went to bed. I could not sleep because I needed to get to my son. So the next morning I got up. I left the house at 6 o'clock in the morning and I drove to the hospital. I got the name of the hospital. I Googled the address and went to the hospital and got to the hospital and found out where my son was. And I got there about 7:30 in the morning. I was there. And when he looked up and he saw my face, he said, "Mom." I said, "Yeah, baby, your mama is here." So, and I was in there for the doctors, and what they came in and they talked to him, about what was going on. I asked questions, and the doctor was saying we're still trying to figure out what's going on. We got him on some antibiotics, but we're still trying to figure out what's going on with the inside of him. So we got him on some pain medication. So we're still trying to figure out Oh, shadababoko, she. Ha! Glory, hallelujah. Trying to figure out what's going on with him. And they start talking all this medical long words. And I says, okay. And Steve was pretty alert then, in a lot of pain, but still alert, and more cognizant of where he was and what was going on with him, and what they were telling him, and they were still trying to figure out what was going on with him. So I stayed there with him about 3 hours and told him I was still exhausted because I really hadn't got any sleep, and I wanted to go back and check on my sisters. And I went back and to check on my sisters, and they were a little upset with me because I went to the hospital and left them sleeping and resting. So they were a little upset with me because I went by myself. But sometimes God has to put you on a journey to be by yourself so he can work a miracle on your behalf that you can see. And so you can build your faith and not somebody else building, being in your ear, telling you what to believe and how to trust God. So I got back to the house and I really don't remember because I was still in this fog. So I says, well, you guys get ready and we can go back up there later on this afternoon. So they got ready that afternoon. I took them in there, and it was perfect timing because my sister's a registered nurse, and it was perfect timing. The nurses was in there. He was having pain. He was pushing the belt, and at that time, my son was he was able to walk. He had diarrhea real bad, and he had to get up and run and go, poop, and then come back and settle in his bed. He was able to do those things on his own at that time. Um, so the nurse came in. My sister asked a whole bunch of medical questions, and it was I should have recorded because it was amazing the question that she asked the nurse. And when the nurse was unable to answer the question, my sister led her in the right direction so she'd be able to answer and understand the questions that she was asking about his diagnosis. So she says, I don't know. The doctors are still running tests. They're not too sure what's going on, but he's on antibiotics and he's on insulin and we and pain medication. He hasn't been able to really eat any food because he gets nauseated and he throw it up. So they're still running tests and they're not sure what's going on. Now this was the 26th of September. So I went back again that on the 27th after we visited him and spoken with the nurse and spoken with the doctors. We left and went back home. And then on the 28th, we got up and we all went there together, and he was in good spirits. The pain medication was working, and the doctors are still running tests, trying to figure out what's going on. They still don't know. All they know, they wanted to check him for infectious disease, what was going on. They still trying to figure it out. So we said okay, and then on that was the 28th. We left. We come back, went got something to eat. Came back that evening. Spent about 3 hours with him there at the hospital, and enjoyed a conversation. He was happy to see us. His mother and his two aunts. He was really excited about that. That we come from Texas to just to check on him to see about him, but it wasn't just to see about him. It was an ordained trip by God because God was in the place of working a miracle that we did not see or did not understand. So finally, because we were in my niece's car, we had to get back. Oh, and I forgot to tell you, we went to the dealership that next day No, it took them 2 days. Yeah, because they couldn't fix it that the day when we had left it on the 25th, that and they didn't get the chance to look at it till the 26th. So it took them the 26th and the 27th that they had to work on the vehicle. Um, and then on the 28th is when we went to go, the vehicle was ready for us to pick up. So we went to the dealership and then we got the vehicle, we got the car, we came back and visit him again on the 28th. And then we decided that we were going to leave early morning on the 29th. And we got ready to go on a journey back. And I was at a cross where you know, to drive the 70 miles, I know it's about 50, maybe 57 miles to the hospital where he was. I just get on the interstate and go and visit him before I leave. And then my sister, because it was her daughter's car, she was in a hurry because her daughter was wanting her car back. So got on the interstate and started back home uh, here to Texas. And I had the phone number. He had his cell phone number. And when I wasn't driving, we drove straight through and left about 7 o'clock and got back home about 3 o'clock in the morning. And I kept trying to call him and he didn't answer his phone. And then when he finally did answer his phone, he says, "Mom, I went home. I'm home." I said, "Well, who picked you up? I wish I'd have known and stayed a few hours. I wish they had known they were going to release you today." So it didn't happen. He had to Uber home, Uber to the drugstore, and they gave him a prescription of morphine with 22 refills, a 22 14-day refill. In other words, they sent him home to die. So I will continue this story again and let you know, keep you up the breast on everything that's going on with my son. And and I'm trying to complete all 136 days in the hospital. 136 days. And look, and I'm gonna tell you this. Look, on at the beginning of the football season, and I know the football season, I don't know when the beginning of football season starts, but the schedule had already been put together. My oldest son is a Packer fan. The Packers were scheduled to play the Arizona Cardinals, and he has a good friend that was his best man at his wedding that now lives in Arizona. So what he does is scheduled to go to that game and they're going to go together. That game was scheduled for October the 6th. Get a little emotional here now. And game was scheduled for October the 6th, 2023. But they made their plans in whenever football season starts. I don't know if it starts a year before. I don't know if it starts in, I don't know when football starts, and I don't know when they get their schedules together, but I can only imagine that the schedule was put together in 2022. But God had a plan for a miracle, more than one miracle to take place. So on October the 6th, my son and his wife had caught a flight to Phoenix. They were going to a football game. The game was scheduled on October the 7th. So what him and his wife was going to originally do is they were going to go to their friend's house. And I says, Steve got out the hospital on the 29th. I've been trying to call him. I can't get in contact with him. Elliot, I need you to go by and check on your brother. He says, I've been trying to call him too because I wanted to spend some time with him tonight, before the game this weekend. I wanted him to get together and we do some things together. And when Elliot got to his house, Steve had probably lost in the few hours from the time that I saw him on the 24th, he probably had lost anywhere from 20 to 25 pounds. His stomach was so swollen. His frame in his mouth, you could see the bones, the skeleton bones in his face. And he had lost his voice. He couldn't talk. He'd been in so much pain all this time. And he had already taken, within 7 days, he had already taken that 14-day supply of morphine. So he wanted his brother to, go to the drugstore, get his refill, get him some more of the morphine because he was in terrible pain. Stomach swollen out like a 22-month pregnant woman with a big balloon inside. And Elliot made the decision to call 911 to have an ambulance to take him to the hospital. And when at the hospital they took him to, they said, we don't handle these kind of situations. We're going to send him to a hospital that is specializes in this particular thing. And he got to the hospital on the night of October the 6th. I scheduled a flight to fly out on October the 7th. Oh my God. And those doctors, when I got there and spoke to the doctors after my plane had landed and I got there and went to the hospital, the doctors said if he had not shown up, he would have been dead in 48 hours. So I plan on going live and keep you up to date on these October the 6th, because today, January 20th, is when the real miracle happened. Yes, the process. And I'm going to get you the process of the miracle. Okay. All right. Thank you so much. And I will go live again. Thank you for all your love and support. But oh my God, I'm so excited to tell you about the miracle that's coming this way. All right. God bless you. And I look forward to seeing you real, real soon. Thank you.